The Kingston Trio. Wherever found this one. He tells us that on November 17, 1958, they had the #1 hit with Tom Dooley. All kinds. I think it's cute. Let's go right to Bill. Oh, by the way, and before that, Harry S. Truman, in an address to a special session of Congress, called for emergency aid to Austria, Italy, and France. Sort of the precursors, and it was approved by Congress, precursors to the Marshall Plan, which worked. It worked. Quite amazing. Let's go to Bill from Pittston. Hey, Bill, how are you?
Angry.
Fire away.
Angry at the Pope.
Okay.
I think he's a political person. This whole thing where he's instructing his bishops to go on the attack to the Trump administration under the delusion that he's aiding illegal aliens. He's a terrible theologian as well. I mean, no, he's not terrible, but he's not good. Put it that way. I mean, there is, just his conclusions with things, very manipulative. But really, he's got these guys where he wanted everything published, to position himself to say that all these illegal aliens are okay. They're justified. They're being unfairly picked on. And the bishops are doing it. The priests were encouraged to preach from the pulpit on it on Sunday. Why doesn't he have this attack for abortion? Why aren't the priests?
There you go. Man, that's because you know what? If you're an illegal alien and you're sent out of this country because you're here illegally, which makes all the sense in the world, by the way, you have another life wherever we return you to. If you're aborted, you have no life. Which is the priority? Very strange. I agree with you.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's about money because, they'll get support from people that really aren't educated on the situation.
Well, remember this, too. Catholic Social Services makes a fortune. They made a fortune during the Biden administration in they were one of the favored NGOs to take money from the federal government and state governments in order to ease the process of illegals coming into this country. They made a fortune.
Just look at his position on Dick Durbin. Let's not judge the guy on one issue.
Yeah, that's another one. I know.
Let's look at his great career where he's for an open border. I mean, the way this guy makes decisions is very un-Catholic. And the thing is, I mean, why? Again, look who he surrounds himself with. He just had a bunch of Hollywood types come down. Almost every one of them was a liberal and a pro-abortion person. And he's encouraged them to speak out through film, like Spike Lee, all the Robert De Niro. He's showing his hand. I really wanted to like this guy. I really wanted to support him, but I think he's a charlatan. I think all he is a political person enamored with celebrities, because if he was a true leader of the flock, he'd be fighting for the unborn. He'd be fighting, make that his primary concern, and he'd show the same zealousness that he's showing for, like you said, illegal aliens. We want immigrants in this country. We don't want murderers and rapists in this country, and they're not in the same category as people that come over here in a justified way.
Yep.
They're not the same.
Yep.
And he can't make that decision. That shows his shallowness.
Appreciate it,
a little
man.
worked up?
You should be. I am too. I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you always, Bill. Let's go to HVAC dude on Tom Dooley. Tell us about that song.
Hey, Tom Dooley, hang your head and cry. Who doesn't like a good murder song? But the question, though, is, did he do it or not?
What was he accused of?
Killing a young girl, and everyone around town pointed the finger at him. And
was this in Ireland or was this here?
I don't know. I think it's an old traditional song.
Okay.
From what I know that Doc Watson has performed it, and more recently Billy Strings has performed it. But never in a million years did I think I would hear a bluegrass classic on an intro on WILK. But if someone was going to do it, it is going to be you because you're a man of culture. Music,
No,
art,
we got our guy
food.
Murph. Our guy Murph has to get 100% for that credit for that. I love his picks. That one among it. Yeah.
Yeah. But all these older bluegrass songs, like they're just such good stories, full of feeling and just so well written. The murder songs, the prison songs, the mama songs, the train songs. Shall I continue?
Yeah.
I just love some bluegrass music, and it was just really exciting to hear that played this morning and put a giant smile on my face. So thank you very much for that.
You made my day, and I'm sure you made Murph's day as well. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And we play our songs, if you notice, I play them a little longer. It's not just an intro, it's part of the show. Because I really think Murph's picks are solid.
It's always thoroughly enjoyed.
All right, my man. Thank you, HVAC dude. We appreciate it.
You have a great day.
You too. We'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK, our great sponsors. We've got a Veterans Tribute when we come back, and the weather. And then we'll talk to you if you want to text or call 570-883-0098. Our veterans this hour and every hour, this day and every day, brought to you by our man, John Basiliga. His first company, his biggest company, Eastern Roofing Systems. headquartered in Jessup. They're one of the largest, and they are the premier roofing contractors in the eastern United States. Institutional, commercial. But guess what? If you live in Northeast Pennsylvania, if you're hearing my voice, they could do your home or your small business using all that expertise, all that buying power. Eastern Roofing Systems in Jessup. David Antoine, he was 96 when he passed away, October 27th. He was from Fleetville. Born in Clark Summit, 1929. His family says he was a remarkable, great man of faith who will be remembered with his life beginning on the farm with his 10 siblings. He graduated from Benton Township Vocational High School, 1947. He then married Janice, the love of his life, for 65 years. He served us in the United States Air Force. He returned and raised a family of 5, which grew into 15 grandchildren, 29 great-grandchildren, and 2 great-great-grandchildren. What a legacy. He enjoyed his working years as a stone quarryman, an employee of Procter & Gamble, and as a Walmart greeter. We love Sudoku, jigsaw puzzles, cribbage, crosswords, card games. David is survived by 4 of his children, a son and 3 daughters. Sadly preceded in death by his wife Janice in 2017. 8 of his siblings, his son David, and a great-grandson, Caleb Miller. David Antoine, our great veteran this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems. The Four Seasons. Murph tells us this date, 1962. They had the #1 hit with that great song, Big Girls Don't Cry. Bob Carroll back with you. it just came across on my monitor in the studios here. 6 months. 6 months without a release of one illegal into the country under Donald J. Trump. Now, if you fell for the lie that the border was secure under Biden, the repeated lie, if you fell for the lie that Biden told in public numerous times, including at a State of the Union, I need legislation to close this border. Now we know they wanted an open border. They wanted that disgrace. They wanted that disruption. And there's no two ways around it. Quite amazing. Well, a friend of the program, but a guy that I've followed around quite a bit is with us to talk about whatever he wants to talk about. And that's Teddy Daniels, former congressional candidate, veteran, raconteur, and all of that. Teddy, how are you?
Bob, I am great, buddy. How have you been, man? It's been a few years, hasn't it?
Yes, doing great, doing great. What do you got? What's on your mind today, my friend?
Well, brother, I want to address the whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing that got canceled up there at the Woodlands.
Okay.
So I've been seeing a lot of things. I've been hearing a lot of things. And initially, we had the venue. Ticket sales were incredible. And then the Woodlands started getting threats. People have been sending me posts online from the left. Hey, congratulations, we did it. We flooded their phones. We did this. We did that. And, you know, Bob, it's a shame. It really is.
Why would just out of curiosity? It's a rhetorical question. I know.
Well, you're going to get an answer.
But no. But why would the left?
That.
Why would the lefties? Why would the Democrats? Why would that whole scuzz part of our community not want Kyle Rittenhouse to appear? I don't get it. I really don't.
You know, Bob, I think this was just a way to try to unite conservatives, Republicans, free thinkers in the area. And, you know, we aren't the ones who wake up every morning, turn on the liberal media, and are told what to be offended by that day.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, Bob, that's the case.
I know.
And,
I know it.
You know, like we
they love to be offended. They love to be offended.
They
bathe in it.
They do. And I think it's a whole victimhood mentality. And I will give them this, Bob. I will give credit where credit is due. Okay? They are definitely united.
Yes.
I will give them that. They are united, and they will go to any length possible to shut down any type of opposing viewpoint, opinion, or speech. I mean, you've seen it with Charlie Kirk.
Yep.
Okay? They will do whatever it takes. And, you know, once the whole Charlie Kirk incident happened, you know, I felt that this was the time to show people we're not going to be bullied. We're going to stand up. You cannot silence us. And the sad part of it, Bob, is we're not the violent side. Okay? None of these people coming to this event are violent people. You know, we just wanted to hear Kyle and the unjust arrest, the malicious prosecution, and then how the media, again, which is another huge problem in this country, Bob, how the media tried to destroy this young man, and he beat them all. Another person we were going to have speaking was Melissa Isaac. She is the first attorney that got an acquittal on a trial for a January 6th defendant. Honestly, Frank should have had her as his attorney. Okay? Because I know Frank's listening right now. Frank's my buddy. I love the guy. Frank should have had Melissa. I had my buddy Mike Crispy, who's a host on Real America's Voice. He was going to come speak. We had representatives from Turning Point USA to come speak to get younger folks involved. And Bob, it's sad. It really is. And the thing that bothers me too is, where were our elected officials to stand up? And what I've noticed is everybody wants to stand up and yell MAGA and yell America first until it's time to take action. And then they're afraid of any type of backlash or people saying bad things about them. Bob, you know the stuff I've been through, okay? Say whatever you want to say about me at this point. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It's not going to change my resolve on where I stand on issues. And I think too many people are afraid to stand up, and that needs to change. And we thought, hopefully, the incidents that happened over the last couple months, that would fire some people up and get people involved and get people to change. But no, the venue.
Well, Teddy Daniels, are there other options for doing an event like this in the future?
Oh, it's going to happen, Bob, but it's not going to happen in Northeast Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's a shame.
And that's the sad part.
But we've got so many Second Amendment people in Northeast PA, so many gun owners. It actually is a great venue, maybe the perfect venue for bringing in a guy like Kyle Rittenhouse, who, he was going to be beaten to death, and he defended himself with the weapon he had.
Exactly.
It's a crazy thing. I'm nuts.
And, Bob, President Trump embraced Kyle Rittenhouse during and after everything that happened. And it's disheartening. And I think I don't consider myself a Republican. I consider myself a conservative. And I think Republicans and conservatives need to unite, and they need to start seeing things on face value. Bob, the one thing I noticed, the big difference between Democrats and Republicans, Democrats will find one thing they like about a person, unite, and support him to the end. Republicans will find one thing they don't like about a person and not support them at all.
Well, we're more skeptical. But remember to be popular in the Democrat Party, you've either got to swallow or somehow slide by that lunatic agenda that the party has adopted.
Exactly. Exactly. Because, again, they will unite, and they will eat their own, too. But I've never seen it so bad in politics today where the right is eating themselves alive. And I'm going to say this, Bob, and I know it's probably going to end up upsetting a lot of people. You have a rotting, cancerous core of the establishment GOP. And it's almost like they're fighting for power and fighting for control instead of standing up and fighting for their constituents. And, you can give me all the lip service in the world you want, but show me action.
Yep.
And,
Teddy, we've got a hard break in about 3 seconds, so I have to let you go. Keep checking in, my friend. Keep checking in. We'll be back. Well, Murph tells us this date, 1966, the Beach Boys are the #1 hit in the UK with Good Vibrations. I always think of the band Ralph when I hear that song. A local band by the name of Ralph. They were able to cover Chicago and the Beach Boys better than anybody, sometimes better than the bands themselves. And that's who I think of. I really do. So it was good to talk to Teddy Daniels. He's a controversial guy, and here's the thing that Republicans, whether they're party officials or otherwise, have to be aware of. And by the way, on the other side too, on Teddy's side of things, they've got to be aware. TJ Fitzgerald's side, they've got to be aware that to be the majority party, which we have the majority of sentiment on our side. And I'm like Teddy. I'm not a Republican. I'm a conservative first. But in order to be a Big Ten and to actually govern, we've got to accept prickly personalities, prickly points of view as part of the process, and we have to be able to fight it out in a primary and then fully support whoever wins, or you won't retain your position as majority party. Take a look at Luzerne County Council. At the same time, the Republicans are taking over on registration. They're losing the county council. Go figure. Republican candidates losing. So we've got to find the happy medium, and we've got to keep the tent open for all people. And I think this event was a great event, a great idea. In the end, didn't happen, unfortunately. But would have been great for bringing more people into the tent, which is the point. We got to stop the fighting on the conservative side, on the common sense side. We really have to stop it. So I hope you all had a good weekend. I certainly did. My mother's birthday yesterday. We're celebrating it tonight, although she got her grandchildren up there yesterday. And then on Friday did nothing. Saturday, we went to our friend Michael Palucci. We had a little surprise birthday party for him. I said, whoopee, what a great surprise you pulled off. It was 2 weeks before his birthday. Of course he was surprised. But it was a great party, great people. Saturday night, and then Cutie and I just stayed on the couch all yesterday. Great stuff. I love to do that. Watch a little football, the Eagles winning. I didn't check with my Weekend Warriors picks. It was more of a defensive struggle, at least as far as the Eagles go. I think they covered the point spread. I couldn't stay up for I realized I drifted off for the last minute or so of the game, and I don't know if they scored on the Eagles, the Lions. I like the Lions because I like their coach. All right, anyway, that's the deal. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We're going to take this break because it's time for the news. My Bacardo Jewelers watch, I go by it religiously. And it's not a Raymond Weil watch. It's not Breitling, not Oris, not Longines, not Michelle, not Shinola, not Luminox, not Swiss Army, not Seiko, not Tory Burch, not Victorinox, not Bulova, not G-Shock. It is a Bacardo's jeweler watch. And it tells me it's 10 and change, meaning we got to go. We'll be back with Monday. Well, no, we don't have Monday musings today. That's right. We don't have Monday musings. Our man John Perillo's traveling today, so he didn't pick a day. I told him, I said, you could do it any day. Any day of the week. We'll have Monday musings on a Wednesday, a Thursday, a Friday, whichever works for you. But he's traveling today and expecting to be held up at the airports. We haven't gotten all the kinks out of the system that the Democrat Party put into it. So we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll return. Great good morning, everyone. 10:07 a.m. here in the great Northeast. That's what my Picardo Jewelers watch says. It's Monday, November 17, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he. And it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with the help of our friend John Basiliga and his great Eastern roofing systems, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like the veterans we've lost this year, but celebrate today thanks to John. Like David Antoine of Fleetville, Frank Oljejewski of Wilkes-Barre, Robert D'Alessandro of Plymouth, Herschel Klinger of Bloomsburg. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that our commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity for you for the balance of the morning, and it's something we really need. James Carville, he rears his ugly head every so often. And I just don't understand. I don't understand why he and Stephen A. Smith have a national platform whenever they pop off on something. And Fox gives them a platform every time they want to say something that might slightly be considered against left-wing lunatic Democrat orthodoxy. I just don't understand it. Carville was never smart to begin with. Well, he was very smart. I apologize. He was never intelligent to begin with. He's a goofball. He lost more elections than he won. I don't get it. Because he could turn a pithy phrase and Stephen A. Smith, there's no there. Once in a while he'll have a good point, but how does he? I don't get it. And there's others, but they should be marginalized. But he is saying, and in this sense, he's performing a public service. He's saying what the Democrats are going to do. They're going to get rid of the filibuster. They're going to make Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. states, thus ensuring themselves the majority in the United States Senate. It's crazy. So we've got they want to make a failed Commonwealth, Puerto Rico, and this is typical of the left-wing lunatics. A failed Commonwealth, a state, and a failed city, a state. Just typical. It's unbelievable. Somebody texted in, Teddy's getting to the point I've been trying to make. People suppress their speech because of fear of reprisal, meaning Teddy Daniels. Thus, free speech is very limited. Most focus on government suppression, which we had tons of, I might add, during the Biden administration, yet ignore social suppression. I don't have a problem with social suppression because that's free speech too. If it's socially uncomfortable to say something, so be it. Then either have the coyotes to say it or go stand in the corner. That's my view. We don't have enough societal demands on people acting and speaking civilly. But I wish the Kyle Rittenhouse event happened. I said this, he's not a hero, but he's a symbol. And if anybody who watched the video of him getting the snot beat out of him before he defended himself with his weapon, the bullies beating up this little kid, well, they earned what they got. Just a little aside, but it tells you how stupid the lunatic left is. Just an aside. If you're going to bully a little kid, Make sure he doesn't have an AR-15 with him. Make sure he doesn't have a rifle in his hands. That would be sensible. But see, they're devoid of truth, fact, and reality. All those Summer of Love protesters. They were protesting based on an outrageous lie. And many of them were paid just to create chaos. Who wins in chaos? The Democrat left. That's who wins amidst chaos. That's why they want it. That's why they pay people to create chaos. That's why they open the borders. That's why they call criminals the oppressed. They want chaos. That's why they want to defund the police. Create chaos, and we thrive. Even normal people will turn to anyone, any port in a storm. But they create the storm. Tom from Dallas says, remember, Democrats have to run on lies and fear to win elections, such as the Republicans wanting to ban all abortions. Women won't get any abortions. Yet, Tom points out, there are approximately 1.14 million abortions in the United States in 2024, a slight increase from 2023. Tom adds, importantly, these human sacrifices would make an Aztec blush. Yeah, no, it's crazy stuff, I got to tell you. Somebody said, and I don't agree with this. I do think that the people who, Luzerne County Republican Party, which just got its ass kicked, needs to say, hey, we better welcome these people in and try to accommodate them instead of opposing them. Because the listener here says, on the Rittenhouse situation, just remember, the Luzerne County Republican Party agreed with the left when it came to freedom of speech. Yeah, I got to say this in defense of Republican officials. The newspaper was looking for a story. It's a left-wing lunatic newspaper. They're going to stretch anything they can to show division in the Republican Party. At the same time, the Democrat Party kicked out their chairman in Luzerne County. So, they're looking for division. The Republican Party rightly says this is not a Republican Party of Luzerne County event, which it was not. Now, you could interpret that as divisiveness, but it's a plain fact. So, in any event. John Fetterman's new book, somebody texts in, Hot Chili Pepper Reed, says PA Governor Josh Shapiro. Not the person you think he is. He puts politics before people. Now, meaning, okay, Fetterman says that about Shapiro. Of course he does. Josh Shapiro cares no more about you than this keyboard I'm looking at now. It's all his politics. It's all his future. Oh, Lord, Lord, Lord. Somebody says, can't imagine how much money is being donated to Paige Cognetti for her run against Rob Bresnahan. I know. Just remember, she destroyed Scranton. She could try to destroy the country. Bob in Sunday Citizen Voice, it was reported that Jane Fonda's Climate PAC donated $40,000 to Luzerne County campaigns for the past election. Wow. I told you there was a lot of outside money, outside lunatic left money, going to these Democrat candidates. Somebody texts in, Stephen A. Smith is not bright. He's a loudmouth race baiter. When the Miami Dolphins fired their general manager a few weeks back and didn't fire their coach, Stephen A. Smith blamed it on racism because the GM was black and the coach was white. That's why they kept him. Stephen A. Smith is a complete moron, says Tom from Dallas. he's a moron. I don't know if he's a complete moron, because once in a while he makes sense, but doesn't deserve a national platform on politics in any way, shape, or form. Bob, you didn't speak about the cancel culture, how they let the turning point. I'm not understanding. There must have been you talking about the Rittenhouse event? You didn't come across in your text the right way in any event. Let's go to Jake from Scranton on Kyle Rittenhouse. How are you?
Good, Bob. How you doing?
Great.
You know, I like your show a lot, but I can't agree with you on Kyle Rittenhouse. You just said it yourself. He was a kid, but he stopped being a kid when he picked up that weapon and decided to go someplace he had no reason to be.
I don't agree with you on that point, because what I read is that he went up to help his cousin or a relative defend his business from the savages who were protesting.
I read that too.
Yeah.
I read that too. But the whole point was he shot 3 people who probably, while they were damaging a business, that's what people have insurance
Well, they
for.
were trying to kill him, too.
Well, that's because he had a gun and he was, he shouldn't have been there in the first place, is my point. You know what I mean?
Let me say this. I say kid because I'm old. I didn't mean it.
Me too. No,
I didn't mean it. Yeah, I
you.
didn't mean it in that sense.
No.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but I'm old too. And he was a kid. That's the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But once he picks up that gun, it doesn't matter if he has the thought process of a 17-year-old or a 30-year-old. He's an adult. And, I'm not involved with anything with the freedom of speech or whatever's going on down there. But I just don't think he should be made into a hero. I think he put himself in the wrong place at the wrong time for the wrong reasons. And
that's his right. I've been in the wrong place for the wrong reason a lot of times. Doesn't mean I'm going to get the snot beat out of you and maybe even killed by idiots who are protesting based on a lie. These are not good people that were beating him up.
I never said they were.
Yeah.
I never said they were. What I'm saying is he didn't need to be there. You know what I mean? The cops weren't even shooting people. And
they should have been. They should have been.
Well, Bob, your son's a police officer. It'd be a bloodbath if that started. You know what I mean? I have family who are police officers. If they actually started killing people, it'd be a bloodbath on both sides. I think they showed incredible restraint by not shooting people. There's a lot of damage done, billions of dollars of damage done worth property. But once you start killing people, it's a whole different ballgame. And I just don't think Rittenhouse should have been there.
All right, so Jake, somebody texted in and very, very helpfully, the people beating him had no right to be there either.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't his job to shoot them, though.
When he was in the process of being killed. You saw the video, didn't you?
He didn't have to be there. That's
no.
No.
Neither did they. They shouldn't have been there. They were illegally trespassing. He was not breaking the law. They were. So how does he not? How does he have less rights as a lawful invitee onto a business premises, and they have more rights when they're illegally there?
Well, he didn't shoot them on the business premises, though.
Yeah, because they chased
him in the street where they were chasing him.
Yeah, he ran. Right. He tried to flee. They wanted to kill him. They started to kill him, but the idiots didn't notice he had a gun, apparently. They got what they deserved, and a jury found that. A jury found that to be the case.
I know they did. What I'm saying, though, is that once people start, there was no need for him to even be there. Not that those people were right in any way, shape, or form.
They were illegally trespassing and illegally damaging property and illegally beating up a kid that's smaller than them. And they got shot. and killed. And a jury said you had the right to defend yourself.
Well, he did have the right to defend himself at that point.
So I don't know what am I missing there?
What you're missing is he was a 17-year-old kid who probably legally couldn't own the rifle he had anyway. He was under 18.
Well, nothing was found in that case. I don't know.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I don't know either. But his mom took him down and dropped him off. The whole thing was just a prescription for a bad day.
And it was a bad day for both. He went through a trial. He went through a trial, but he didn't break the law, and a jury said so. So, and again, I'm not making him into a hero.
Well, Bob,
he's a symbol. He's a symbol, and I thought that it would have been.
That's my question. What's he a symbol of?
Self-defense. That self-defense is sometimes necessary and is okay, and that you have the right to be where you want to be, even if you don't think, meaning you, Jake, or I, don't think you should have been there in the first place. You've got freedom to be where you want to be, to express your views, and to defend yourself. And I think he did all three of those things.
Okay, I'm not gonna. I don't agree, but we're probably never gonna come to any point where we actually agree on,
which
on any
is fine.
points of this.
Which is fine.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
But the jury agreed with me. The jury agreed with me.
I'm not saying he wasn't defending himself, Bob. I'm just saying.
I would rather he not be there either.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But that's not my choice. That's his. I can't tell you where to go. You can't tell me where to go. He went where he was lawfully allowed to be, and he defended himself and tried to flee. They tried to chase him to kill him.
What would your son as a police officer tell this young man if he said at 17 years old, hey, officer, I'm going down there with my AR-style rifle and protect this building? What would your son tell him?
He'd probably say the same thing we're saying, which is, I'd rather you not, but I can't tell you you can't.
Exactly. He'd rather him not.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point.
Your preferences, my preferences, do not govern other people's activities, period. Other people's lawful activities. They don't, Jake.
Bob, I think if people start taking that attitude and taking their personal weapons out every time there's civil unrest, there's going to be a lot of problems. You know, I mean, and we got to look at it that way. Once you say this kid's okay.
No, I take it the other way. I take it the other way. If savage liars are going to go around beating people up and destroying property, there has to be consequences. These were the most severe possible, but they're the consequences they earned.
That's for the police to decide what consequences there are.
No, it's to the guy defending himself, Kyle Rittenhouse.
You have the right to stay in your home and not.
He fled and they chased him to kill him, Jake. What am I missing here? I don't get it. I really don't. I don't understand your point.
My point is he shouldn't have been there in the first place.
That's so what?
Plain and simple.
And that's so what? What doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks. If he was where he could be lawfully, it's irrelevant what you think.
Okay, fair enough.
To the whole situation, and so said a jury.
Yes, they did.
All right, my man. I appreciate it, though. Thank you. We'll take a break and be back. Our veterans this hour and every hour, this day and every day. Brought to you by our friend John Basiliga. Featuring today one of his great companies, Eastern Roofing Systems, headquartered in Jessup. One of the largest and the premier roofing contractor for commercial, industrial, and institutional purposes in the entire eastern United States. And guess what? They bring that expertise right back here to your home or small building. All their buying power, all their knowledge, Eastern Roofing Systems. Frank Oljejewski. He died October 26th. He was from Wilkes-Barre. He lost his battle with a lengthy illness at the age of 75, family at his side. Born in Kingston, he attended Marymount High School and King's College. He proudly served this country in the United States Army with the 109th Field Artillery, the fabled 109th. He often reminded his family and friends to remember the veterans. After his service, he began a successful career in sales at Knackless Furniture and was well known as a commercial personality called Crazy Frankie. Later on, he worked for the Commission on Economic Opportunity. Left to cherish his memory, his loving wife of 53 years, Nancy Smith, the former Nancy Smith, his daughters, his grandchildren, and many other family members. Frank dedicated his life to family, friends, fishing, and fun. He was always the life of the party. Big ones biting now, he used to say. Frank Oljejewski. Robert D'Alessandro. He died November 8th. He was from Plymouth. He was 77. Born in Jenkins Township, a graduate of Plains Memorial High School, class of 1966. Shortly after graduation, in August of 66, Bob enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. He was a combat veteran of the Vietnam War, earning the National Defense Service Medal, the Vietnamese Campaign Medal, the Vietnamese Service Medal, and the Presidential Unit Citation and the Combat Action Ribbon. He was discharged in 1970 as a PFC. He attended King's College and earned his bachelor's degree in criminal justice, later employed as a caseworker at the Department of Human Services. Avid hunter and fisherman, involved in local sports, surviving her his wife of 37 years, the former Cindy Gruenberg. His son, his daughter, his grandchildren, and many other family members. Robert D'Alessandro. Our great veterans this hour brought to you by John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems. Ringo Starr. Murph says this date, 1973. He moved up to number 4 with his hit Photograph. Somebody said Kyle, as a child, Kyle Rittenhouse, showed more resolve and coyones than many adults that chose to be victimized that day. He stood up to the terrorists like a man, and he may not have needed it if real men had risen to the occasion. The last caller will be a victim and seemed to suggest we should all be victims, especially if we are insured. No, that's not what he said. He said he shouldn't have been there. And I'm agnostic on that. He should be wherever he wants to be lawfully. Period. Any American. You should be where you want to be. And I give him credit because he ran before shooting. He fled before defending himself. And he was still getting the snot beat out of him. They wouldn't let him get away. And then they paid the ultimate price. Who the hell were they? They shouldn't have been there either. So maybe if there was no protest, Kyle Rittenhouse wouldn't have been there. If there was no destruction, wanton destruction, I might add, burning and destroying people's property, their life's work. These people were scum that were protesting. They were idiots. They were liars. So, I again, not getting it. Not getting it. Somebody said this. I do get why Kyle Rittenhouse's trial went the way it did. Self-defense. They were trying to kill him. What I don't understand, how there is this Republican Party faction who feels that he is some martyr and should be going around the country speaking. Speaking about what? Speaking about a unique experience, an amazing one, an amazingly interesting experience. It captured the national dialogue. But they continue. It's just a bit ridiculous. What are they celebrating? That this kid went out with an AR-15, a white kid at that. Well, what is that? You've lost me. Now you lost me. Who gives a spit if he's white? I parade him around the country. Well, he's got an interesting story to tell. He's got a story and his version of the story that is quite amazing. And by the way, you had to pay for a ticket to go. So if you choose to think that's interesting, that's your right too. I don't know. We're losing the focus on what freedom is. Freedom is to do whatever lawful activity you want when you want to. So I don't get it. And the people who got shot earned it, and a jury said so. If I had them to talk to, I'd say, well, first of all, you can't go marauding around a town destroying other people's property. Something bad might happen to you, number one. Number two, if you're going to try to kill someone with a rifle, expect to be shot. I couldn't be much clearer than that. Let's go to Luciano. Hey, Luciano, how are you?
Thank you, Bob, for taking my call. See, in modern day society, if you're a white European Christian, you're evil, you're wicked, and the Democratic Party only, see, we don't have American citizens, especially you being a white person. I have more privileges than you.
I'm not white. I'm sorry, I'm not white.
Yeah. I know, I'm just saying, because the modern day Democratic Party is one part is for illegals and one part is for American citizens. I agree with you 100%. Remember what happened in New York City in the subway where this soldier killed this crazy wacko homeless person? He was threatening him and he killed him. He was set free. Bob, don't give up. Don't be intimidated. I walk around sometimes with a maggot hat and they spit at me and they curse at me and they say all kinds of foul things.
Well, Luciano, helpfully, one of the audience said one of the audience texted in as I was speaking with Jake, and they said, "Well, wait a minute, they weren't where they were supposed to be either. The protesters, they were undertaking illegal activity in addition to trying to kill this kid who ran away."
Charlie Kirk deserved to die in an insane society that is governed and protected by the modern Democratic Party. Bob, don't give up and don't mince words and don't sugarcoat anything. Keep up the good work, Bob. Take care.
Thank you. Frank from Wolf Forge. Hey, Frank, on the Rittenhouse deal. Frank.
Well, Bob, here's the point. Kyle Rittenhouse, he beat, and these are all crimes, right, of the media. He beat the lying, racketeering, which is a crime, collusion, which is a crime, conspiratorial, which is a crime, media narrative. They wanted Kyle Rittenhouse to get a life sentence, ending his life in jail, a life sentence. That's why this is important for Kyle Rittenhouse to come here and speak and say, hey, people, don't give up. Although your media is aligned against you, and here's a good point. I spoke to Dan Muser, and Dan Muser said, did you see my piece in the paper, Scranton Times? I said, no, why? He said, at the prayer breakfast, they asked him about Kyle Rittenhouse. And Dan Muser said, it's America, free speech. He deserves to come here. He could speak wherever he would like. So why didn't the Scranton Times publish that quote from a sitting local congressman?
Because it's
there you go.
It's a
the
crappy left-wing lunatic newspaper. The paper sucks. It's what is.
A life sentence. And he went down. Remember, this was the summer of love, George Floyd.
Yep.
I think they had just sentenced Derek Chauvin, right? You know that media narrative, collusional, conspiratorial lie, right? So now that guy's sitting in jail. That's why it's important for Kyle Rittenhouse to come here. And guess what? You won't see him again. And why do I know that? Not here. And that's why you don't see him around a lot. He charges a lot of money to speak. He's not a traveling show. If somebody wants to hear his viewpoint, they will pay it. I know this because the Rod of Iron Freedom Festival, we have it annually up in Greeley. We pay $10,000 to General Flynn, $10,000 to Gorka, right? Kyle Rittenhouse is much more expensive. He doesn't need to go out and speak. So that's why we'll never see Kyle Rittenhouse again, because we can't afford it. But here's the point. This thing was going, great guns, no problems, until a couple local, I guarantee you, there weren't more than 50 people that called the Woodlands. The Woodlands reneged. It was a simple $500 rent the venue, and here's the backstory. $500, rent the venue, and bring your own security. Bob, the last contract we got, which was Thursday at 5:01 p.m., after close of business, when we were waiting since noon to get this new contract, they wanted a $12,000 pizza bar. Bob, who else that has an event there has a requirement to pay $12,000 for a pizza bar? And it gets worse. They wanted at least 10 local policemen with a bomb squad. Bob, how much does that cost? It's not even worth bringing Kyle at this point, but it goes further. They wanted a $5 million liability policy for the venue for 3 hours.
Well, other than the pizza bar, I don't disagree with them.
Well, listen, the only reason you need a Bob squad is because the left, the violent left, the unhinged, the statist apparatchiks commies, right? They don't want it here.
Yep.
So guess what they do, right? So you know what? At that point, it's like all the people that had bought advanced sales, it's like, and put it this way, Bob, we originally started at $100 a ticket. And I was talking to Teddy and TJ. I said, guys, $100, we'll get people, but let's open it up to the public, to the working guy. Let's charge $25 a ticket. Guess what? Ticket sales were fine. We were building, and then last minute, the Woodlands, right? And listen, what if Kyle Rittenhouse was part of a trans drag show for kids? You think they would have canceled that? Probably not. So you know what? it's a dichotomy here. But Northeast Pennsylvania loses. And as for the parties, Bob, maybe they wouldn't bring Kyle Rittenhouse here. But NEPA Republicans, me, TJ Fitzgerald, Teddy, right? We thought this would be
Well, we got to
great
figure out a way to get
for
along
Northeast.
because we can't.
We are.
Regardless
We're
of
getting
this
along,
event, regardless of the event,
getting along.
we're losing
It's just-
elections we shouldn't be losing.
Yeah, well, that's why we got to turn out the base, like Teddy said about MAGA. But you know what, Bob? In the end, we lost the great, and this is right before the holiday season, right? Kyle Rittenhouse, he beat the lying, colluding, racketeering
Yep.
media.
Yep.
That's a big.
Oh, you got an amazing story to tell. Amazing story. I don't know how well he tells it, but he's got an amazing story, and it was part of a gripping national argument. And I wish he had come. Frank, thank you, my man. We got to take this break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll return. the late, great Jim Croce. Murph tells us this date, 1973. He entered the top 10 charts at number 10 with his hit, I Got a Name. And before that, 1962, this date, JFK dedicating Dulles International Airport outside Washington, D.C. Remember, what is now known as Reagan was the primary airport for D.C. Some people with some decent foresight said, hey, we're going to need a heck of a lot more than this because the Reagan National it's really a small imprint. And good thing they did that in any event. Bob LTS, they hate Kyle Rittenhouse because he represents the possibility of people growing a pair and fighting back. They depend on the population being passive. On the other side, somebody says, I don't get the Kyle thing either. Can speak about that in 5 minutes. He's trying to get rich, not much to gain off him speaking. But again, that's for people to decide. Someone else, something I completely disagree with. No civilian anywhere should possess an AR-15 rifle. I don't agree with you at all. I don't agree with you at all. That's the right to bear arms. It's in the Constitution. Somebody else, the entire summer, the police were told to stand down and let the thugs burn cities. If the police did their job, none of this would happen. If they did open fire on the thugs, it would have stopped immediately. If you reward bad behavior, you get more of it. It's common sense. Our grandfather's generation would have shot the spit out of these thugs and put them in prison where they belong, not coddled them as some sort of victims. Oh, it was a disgrace. You had mayors and governors that were just disgusting. Yeah, absolutely disgusting. Somebody says the whole event can sum up the Democrat Party. They celebrated Luigi Mangione killing that CEO. They also celebrated Charlie Kirk's death. Both these men weren't attacking anybody, but they have a meltdown over Kyle defending his own life from people who were trying to kill him. The same people burning down the city, vandalizing property of innocent people that had no ties to the George Floyd incident at all. And there is nothing you can say to change. We'll see where that continues. Yeah, but point being, yeah, exactly. Bob, the Kyle Rittenhouse event was canceled over insurance liability premiums, no different than Obamacare subsidies. Insurance rates out of control at the present time. Somebody else says, I wonder if Chris Kelly will write another article on the Kyle event since Teddy and Scavo called on your show. Yeah, because he never listens. Well, we're not talking about him anymore. I told you why you may not have heard. And my invitation for him to come on the show anytime has been withdrawn. When he compared Antifa to the brave men who stormed Normandy Beach, that's it. He's too sick. He's too depraved to put on these airwaves, period. So, and he was, because his column is irrelevant and nobody reads it, and because we have a huge audience, he was using us to have people read his stupid columns. But he's too perverted. I am not interested. He's too mentally ill. Can't do it. You compare Antifa to the World War II heroes? Oh, my God. Somebody says, wait, what? You think anybody on the street that can own a gun can own an AR-15? Yeah, they're legal. I don't understand. What part of that is not understandable? You got to remember this. There's this interesting thing about freedom. It's somebody else's. You got your own, but it's somebody else's freedom just because it makes you uncomfortable. It's how we start the show. People who would use government for their own comfort, benefit, or power. That's the law. If you go and change the law and we can't have AR-15s, I wouldn't agree with it because I think it'd be unconstitutional. I can't have a gun. I'm a felon. And my dear buddy just gave me a burner. I've got a burner. But please, because it makes you uncomfortable doesn't mean anything. Because somebody's speech makes you uncomfortable, that doesn't mean anything. You got to get a grasp on freedom. It doesn't go into those things which make you uncomfortable are not allowed. Freedom is supposed to be uncomfortable. That's why it works, by the way. All right. My Picardo Jewelers watch tells me we're way over. It's 11:02 according to Picardo's, and they are your jewelry store, but they're your watch store too. We'll take a break and be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Great good morning, everyone. My Picardo Jewelers watch tells me it's 11:10 a.m. here in the great Northeast. This beautiful Monday, November 17, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he. And it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with the help of our friend John Basiliga and his great company, Eastern Roofing Systems, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like veterans we've lost this year, but celebrate today thanks to John, like Robert D'Alessandro, he of Plymouth, Frank Oljajewski, Wilkes-Barre, David Antoine, Fleetville, and Herschel Klinger, Bloomsburg. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order, this meeting of the Club for Common Sense. And shouting, but by the way, our commitment to common sense is such that we're going to provide a sanctuary of sanity for you for the balance of this morning. And pointing out, just a shout out to the Scranton Sewer Authority, guys. We have a little problem at the homestead there. Cutie presiding over it, and they were there lickety-split and helped us out. But now we need other things. Old pipes. What are you gonna do? Well, it is Monday, and you know what that means. And this is his Dancing to the Star theme. It is time for Chester Parlavecchio, my man Chet. He is a New Jersey Hall of Fame coach. He is a Penn State star. He's a Green Bay Packers star. And he's an NFL coach. He's all that and more. Our man, Chet Parlavecchio. How are you, Chester?
Bobby, always refreshing, pal. I'll tell you what, every time you start that music, I just start laughing.
I love it because it's so unlike you.
I know.
Although I think you probably did some disco in your high school days.
Hey, I can go to the club and stand in the corner. Big men could dance too, you know. How you been, partner?
I'm doing great. Well, tell me, what did you see over the weekend?
Well, we got some good stuff. I mean, you look at the weekend, and I said it's a funny thing. The National Football League and college football ran parallel. It was a week of upsets. It was a week of last-minute heroics, and it was a week of supporting the old axiom that all those statistics that people keep and all their fantasy pools and all that mean nothing, that the only one that means anything is turnover-takeover ratio. And if you turn the ball over, you lose football games. If you don't, you win football games. So to get started on the college side, I mean, you look at Penn State. Let's throw our two locals. Penn State obviously was nice to see Katron Allen get going, 180 yards rushing. I thought that was great. The defense did a fantastic job. They had 5 sacks. It looked like the old Penn State. They came to kids. They showed resiliency. And, and obviously they're still playing hard, and that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And that's the job of the staff that's there. Continue to play hard, make those kids understand they got a season to play, and then whatever happens at the end happens. That's out of their control. Then you look at Pitt, and again, my last chance for someone to hit Notre Dame back, but Pitt was physically outgunned. Again, when you're 0 for 13 on third down and you give up 4 sacks and you could only run the ball for 70 yards, you're physically inferior to your opponent. And that's exactly what happened. They got worn down. They couldn't put enough plays together. They were valiant. It was a great atmosphere over in Pittsburgh, but again, there's just not enough there right now. And it looks like they'll have a nice, they'll have a bowl game, Christmas bowl, and so, they'll be an 8-9 win team, which will be another good year. But then you look down the line, and you talk about the last-minute heroics of the week. Texas A&M and South Carolina. There you go, a 30-point deficit. You figure these guys are dead. It's over. And here you are, the third-ranked team in the country. You're losing to an unranked team. But if we go back to what I've been saying all year about when you're the inevitability of the ranking of this playoff group, Here's a case again where there is no day off in the SEC. That's a South Carolina team that has a former Heisman Trophy favorite at quarterback in Sellers. They're still a very viable opponent. So there you go. Texas A&M finds themselves in a hole, and thank God they get lucky enough. The running back Lacey had a great day at 200 and something yards rushing. They had a great day, so they showed a lot of resiliency, which a high-ranked team should, and they came back and they won the football game. Georgia Tech, with Haynes King, I mean, that kid, I love him. 371 yards passing, another 50. Took a late-minute field goal. Again, Coach O'Brien's boys are not going to quit. We know that from his Penn State days. They could easily pack it in at 1-9. They decided, hey, no, we're going to go to hell with that. We're in Boston. It's my last home game as a senior. It's supposed to mean something. And they went and played the hell out of Georgia Tech, and it took a last-second field goal for them to win. And then you look at Northwestern. Again, I always laughed at Northwestern. You know why I laugh at them, Bobby? Because they don't get the recruits everybody else in the Big Ten gets. You know what they just get? Some tough, smart kids that want to play.
Mm-hmm.
And they're usually physically or athletically inferior to most people they play, yet they do a great job over there of staying competitive and, if not, actually winning a lot of games. They had Michigan on their butt. But, again, Michigan turns the ball over 5 times. They had 500 yards in offense, and you're trying to win a last-second – you have to use a last-second field goal to win. That's what turnovers do to you. So, again, Michigan learns a lesson late in the year. Northwestern had them on the ropes but couldn't finish. And then the highlight games, obviously the big-name games, Texas and Georgia. Georgia looks formidable. They look like they're back. Gunnar Stockton at 230 yards thrown, 4 touchdowns. They looked really good. But the biggest telling statistic was holding Texas to 20 yards rushing. That shows superiority on the offensive and defensive lines. Georgia is trending forward. They'll be 3rd or 4th in the nation at the end of the week, but they're going to be a very formidable team come the playoffs. And then you got Alabama, again, loses a big one to Oklahoma. I mean, what are you going to do? You turn the ball over 3 times. You had over 400 yards in offense, and you lost the football game because you turned the football over. So I'm interested to see where that takes Alabama in the rankings. And the last one, got to give Ole Miss credit. Again, they came back against Florida. Florida was right there. Lower rung SEC team with a lot of pride. No weekend in the SEC is a gimme. And they did what they had to do. They had 500 yards in offense. They were resilient. They came back, and they won the football game. So it was an exciting week in college football for sure.
Heating up,
again,
right? Heating up.
Excuse me?
It's heating up, right?
Oh, no, exactly. Again, that question me and you have talked about. What are we going to do with that first third win team that might be there? Is Texas one of those teams? I don't know. But the issues are going to get The issues are going to get better as things get closer. There'll be more upsets next week. There'll be more movement. So I really don't think you have any other than the top 4 or 5. I would say the top 6. I'd even go to the top 6 are pretty solid right now. But after that, it's going to be movement for the rest of the year.
All right,
So
Chester.
you want to go right to the NFL or you want to break?
We're going to take this break. We want to hear from our great sponsors so we can keep sending you big, big checks. And
do me a favor. If maybe next week we're doing so well with this show, you can upgrade me from El Productos to Backwoods cigar.
Chet Parlavecchio, the weekend wrap-up. We'll be talking to him when we come back. A little bit from our sponsors, a little history, a little music, and then more of my man Chester. We'll be back. Well, Richard Nixon. the famous saying, hoist on your own petard. By the way, somebody texts in, and I did not know this. Bob, keeping in a sports vein, how about our own Division III University of Scranton women's basketball team beating Division I Pitt yesterday? So Pitt had 2 losses on the weekend. A huge accomplishment. Yes, it is. Well, my brother Mike texts in, he goes, the name Chet Parlavecchio rolls off the tongue like another great linebacker, Phil Villapiano. Yes, it does. Right, Chester? You and Phil.
Well, yeah, absolutely. All right, listen, let's go on to the NFL.
Let's go NFL.
There's some good stuff that happened this week. Like I said, our locals, I thought Philadelphia defensively played a great game. To hold Detroit to 60 yards rushing, I think that says it. That's where the game was won because statistically, all the other things that happened in that game, Bobby, were real. I would say the word to describe it, efficient. Again, Hurts only threw for 140 yards. Barkley rushed for, 80, 85 yards. So they did enough to get the job done, and that's just a sign of good football teams. They do what they need to do to get the job done. They realized defensively they were in a good rhythm, and offensively, let's not lose this thing. So again, I thought,
and the pressure on the quarterback was just constant.
Oh, tremendous! I mean, they were in them all. They were on them all day. They were getting great push from inside. Carter was getting great push. No, I thought defensively they really shut down a real good Detroit team. Detroit probably got a little cocky after last week hammering Washington. So, again, a little reality shot for Coach there as far as his play calling. Then you go right over to Pittsburgh. I mean, obviously the concern is Rodgers. I mean, Pittsburgh played a great game. He started off a little slow. But, hey, Mason Rudolph comes in, throws for 125 yards. They didn't lose a rhythm. They actually increased their lead when he went in. I mean, obviously long-term you hope here. I don't know the latest on his wrist, but I thought Pittsburgh, played well. They did what they had to do to stay in the hunt. The Giants, on the other hand, they're getting to a point. It's actually sad, Bobby. And I
are they getting the Jets territory?
Well, no. I mean, if you look at them, no, because you know why, Bobby? They've been right there with some good football teams. They were right there again with Green Bay, but we know Jameis has to be Jameis. There's that moment in the game where you wonder, who the hell are you throwing to? And he didn't let me down with a minute to go.
Yeah.
Here it comes. And it was sad because, up until, and all kidding aside, I thought Winston did a great job of managing the game. They ran the ball beautiful. I thought Kafka had a good grip on what those guys are able to do right now. Let's be honest, Bobby. They don't have any vertical threats right now. They don't have the athletes other people have. And they're doing it with mirrors. And like I said, they stay competitive. The Jets, on the other hand, I just told my son his quarterback just passed Justin Fields in total yardage this year. The only problem is my son's quarterback plays Group 1 high school football. Old Justin had a big game again yesterday, threw 115 yards. In fairness to him, he's doing what he can. I mean, he rushed for another 70. He had 180 yards in offense. But again, you're playing Drake May right now, who's one of the hottest quarterbacks in football. And if there's any kid out there right now that looks like he's going to be a star, it's Drake May. So that was a tough one for the Jets. So the highlight games, go through the league. Again, Kansas City and Denver. Nix is becoming a fourth quarter guy, man. He's learning. Quarterbacks might have better numbers, Bobby, than National Football League, but you could take this to the bank. Your legacy is going to be based on what you do in the 2 and the 4-minute drill. When you become real good at that and you steal football games in the fourth quarter, that's a legacy that you want to have. You want to get into the Hall of Fame. Now, I know Bo Nix, there are times he looks a little rough on the edges, but I tell you what, come crunch time, he's developing a reputation. I think that's his 4th or 5th come from behind win.
Yeah.
The guy's learning how to do it, especially where highlighted it was our hero, Mahomes, he looked shaky.
Yeah.
And then again, he was running for his life most of the night, but he looked shaky.
Chet, a lot of people thought Denver was going to be exposed by this Kansas City game.
Yeah,
Kansas City was hot.
Was legit. Hey, listen, Bob, you hold somebody to 60 yards rushing. You got 3 sacks on Mahomes, which means you're knocking him down. A bunch of pressures. No, that's the way you beat Patrick Mahomes. You need a pass rush. You can't sit there in a zone and let him read windows. You do that, he's going to pick you apart. So Then Buffalo and Tampa, it was good to see Josh back on the way he goes. I mean, 6 touchdowns, 3 rushing, 3 passing. I mean, the guy's a horse. Seattle and the Rams. I mean, that was a great game. Now, here again, Seattle has 450 yards in offense, almost 2-1 on the Rams. But Sam Darnold had a tough day yesterday. He turns the ball over 4 times. You can't give people short football fields. Short football fields will get you beat. And then the other thing, the 3 shout-outs of the day, the kid Mills from Houston, what a great job, 280 yards again. That kid, hey, they went on a last-second field goal. Congratulations to Jacoby Brissett, set a new NFL record, right? 47 completions, 452 yards, and the same part of that is They got hammered again. and then Bryce Young, great job getting into the overtime, 400 and something yards throwing, but just a great job. 3 late, heroic wins, overtime wins, young quarterbacks that are learning how to play that 2 and 4 minute drill. And if, like I said, you want to be great in the National Football League, especially this time of year, that is going to be your standard, how you handle those moments in games. And that's our trip, big guy. That's our trip.
All right, man. Well, Chester, we appreciate it very much. Our guy, Chet Parlavecchio, the weekend wrap-up, and he wrapped it up. Tidy with a bow.
All right there, tidy bow.
Chester, you have a great week, brother. Look forward to next week. All right, man. We'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We will return. Our Veterans Tribute this hour and every hour, this day and every day, brought to you by our friend John Basiliga. Today featuring just one of his great companies, his first and his biggest, Eastern Roofing Systems. They are the premier institutional, commercial roofers in the eastern United States. And guess what? They're headquartered in Jessup and can bring all that expertise, all that buying power to you, to your home, and to your small building right here in Northeast Pennsylvania. Eastern Roofing Systems. Outside the Bloomsburg American Legion, there is a chiseled message. It says, what is a veteran? And I'll add to it a little bit. A veteran, whether active duty, discharged, retired, or reserve, peacetime or wartime, is someone who at one point in his or her life wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America for an amount of up to and including his or her life. That is honor. Herschel Klinger, businessman known for his hard work ethic. He passed away at age 88. He was from Bloomsburg. We lost him November 4th this year. He lived in Montour Township for more than 13 years. Born in Bloomsburg, he attended Bloomsburg area schools and then enlisted in the United States Army in 1954, serving 3 years. In 1959, he married his loving wife, the former Marlene Pennypacker. For more than 72 years, Herschel was the owner of Klinger Furnace Cleaning and Repair until his retirement in 2018. Member of the Buckhorn Methodist Church in Bloomsburg, the VFW post there, the American Legion post there. He managed Bloomsburg Panthers football. He was a bowler, a baseball player, known for his hard work and kindness towards others. Preceded in death by 6 siblings. Surviving his beloved wife of 66 years, Marlene. 2 children, a daughter and a son. Grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, and other family members. Herschel Klinger, our Veterans Tribute this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems. Murph tells us November 17, 1978, Led Zeppelin recorded 2 takes of their hit All of My Love at ABBA's Polar Studios, Stockholm, Sweden. Bob Cordaro back with you on the program. And somebody texts in and said, Bob, Chet missed talking about the best game of Sunday and the best young quarterback, Caleb Williams, and the Chicago Bears beating the Minnesota Vikings on a last-second field goal. As Johnny Carson would say, I did not know that. All right. And I'll pass it on to Chester. Love it. Well, the incomparable, and I don't say that in a positive way, Michelle Obama. She just cannot help but be a flaming racist. She just can't help it. I don't know one white person who's telling black people they have to straighten their hair. Who's telling them this? Who sent out this edict? She's just a whiner. She made it to the top because of her husband, and maybe she provided great support, great things in the background. I don't know. But this woman is clearly insane. And she's clearly very bitter over God knows what. You're a multimillionaire. You have people stupidly following you and praising you constantly. I don't get it. I just don't. She's just a very negative, bitter person. And we've heard too much of her. We really have. There's no point to her. She brings nothing to the table. Nothing positive, that's for sure. Ugh. I just thought I'd bring that up because I'm like, she's out of her mind. Somebody said, I just tuned in your show. Did you talk about the University of Scranton women's basketball team upsetting Pittsburgh last night? They were given a 0.1 chance of winning before the game, says Barry from Plains. Yes, we did. Someone reminded me helpfully. Someone commenting, yeah, well, someone commenting on Michelle. We'll leave that unsaid. Well, in any event, she's just an irritating, negative person for the country that gave her everything. And she disclosed who she was when she said, in other words, she said she was never proud of her country, basically ashamed of it, until Barack Obama was elected. Oh, and then, by the way, he was reelected. And I don't think anybody looked at it like, well, okay, we've taken care of this racism problem. Nobody looked at it that way. But here's the problem. You have blabbermouths like her who hamper race relations. Yeah, as someone says, somebody texted in, imagine a multimillionaire former first lady claiming she's being oppressed. Tell me you have no substance to offer without telling me you have no substance to offer. Really, there's nothing there except a big ball of gripes. Disgraceful human being. Really awful. Ugh, sad. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK, listener from our great sponsors. We will come back. We've got a lot to do. We got 2:45. We got all that stuff. We'll be back. We're back. Thanks, Frank. Thanks, Gerard. And it is, just so you know, Frank is on a bar stool in Townsville, Australia, where it is, in fact, 2:45 in the morning. And he's singing his saloon song, and Joe's setting him up. Hey, Mother Teresa, St. Teresa for today. Mary Regina helpfully reminded me. November 7th. I get so many texts during the course of the program. I'll read the St. Teresa message and think I read it on the air. And then she reminds me nicely. There's nothing wrong with money, says St. Teresa. It is what we do with it that makes it a positive or a negative influence in our lives. But I've seen it destroy people time and time again. So be watchful. Nothing will destroy our joy and our connection with God like money. St. Teresa. Well, I don't have that problem right now, St. Teresa. But I'd like to try. I'd like to see how I do. Oh, Lord. Chuck from Garberville says, Bob, Michelle Obama states she hated America. She never had it so good. It's disgraceful. Somebody else tagged in. Bob, you were right all along about Josh Shapiro. In Fetterman's new book, Unfettered, John Fetterman said he wanted to stop him from power at all costs, even to threaten to primary Josh Shapiro in 2022. Fetterman said that Shapiro is for Shapiro. And they continue, unbelievable read. I heard it's a good book. I don't know that I'll read it, but, John Fetterman, I mean, I've said this. I was 1,000% against him. I'll be against him again in a couple of years because he's a left winger. But that doesn't mean I don't like him. I always liked him. That he was not good at any of the jobs he's undertaken is a separate issue. Now, as a senator, he has stepped up to the plate on a number of issues and been normal. I mean, that's about all you can talk about. Somebody texts in, Job from the Bible was rich. He was rich, then he was poor, then he became rich again. I hope to happen to me somehow, but we'll see. Who cares? I don't care that deeply. We'll put it that way. Yeah, it's just so. But the fact that he's calling out Shapiro in his book, again, a burst of honesty. He's the only Democrat right now telling the truth. Isn't that sad? He's the only one telling the truth. Everybody else is ducking the truth, the obvious truth. Hey, I just realized we got to go to Bloomberg. We'll be back. Murph tells us this date, 1980, John Lennon released his album Double Fantasy, featuring Just Like Starting Over, that song. And of course, Jake, thank you for that, because if we had cut it off before he said California, I would have been livid. Arnold Schwarzenegger, this date, 2003, being sworn in as the 38th governor of California. He didn't do a lot of damage. And we give him, you got to give him credit for that based on what followed. And remember, he was replacing the ultra odious Gray, Governor Gray. What was his name? Now I'm blanking on it. I have his face pictured, and I blanked on his name with good reason. Gray Davis. Yeah, disgraceful. Anyway, somebody said, I'll ask you again. Now, I do remember the question being asked, and I think I answered it. Should the Republicans help fund Fetterman's primary to avoid a more left opponent in the general? No. First of all, I don't agree with getting involved in somebody else's primary. I really don't. Run the election you're running. Just ethically, I look at it that way. But the second part of it is, let them pick who they want to pick. You really, and I want to point this out, you really can't be much more left-wing than John Fetterman. Let them tear each other apart, because John Fetterman had an occasional lapse of common sense. But remember, that's all it is an occasional lapse of common sense. And he seems to me to be a likable guy. I know people that met him and said, I didn't like him. And these were people prone to like Fetterman. I think I would like him. I don't know. I mean, I like him from a distance. But no, don't get involved in the other side's primary. First of all, we don't even understand that mentality. Did you imagine Republicans trying to get involved and dealing with that kind of voter who's literally insane and trying to influence their actions? We would have no clue how to do that. So, no, we should not get involved in Fetterman's primary. Let them figure it out and let this party fight for lapses of common sense versus total insanity. That's going to be the Democrat Party's choice, and we want that second Senate seat. So let them bang each other up, and we could win. Now, we're finishing with Gordon Lightfoot. And my favorite song, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Because on this date, 1938, Gordon Lightfoot was born, Orillia, Ontario, Canada. And I love this song. He's just a great storyteller, isn't he? So he said, Bob, the reason your listeners like Fetterman and you, both you and Fetterman, are not afraid to call balls and strikes and pay the consequences of your beliefs, except I would say this. I don't think Fetterman understands the strike zone. I'll take the analogy and agree with you. He just doesn't know he does not know the strike zone. He's still a left winger. Let us not forget. Somebody takes in, Bob, an old saying, when you see the enemy making a mistake, don't interrupt. Now, somebody's saying Jerry Brown was the California governor. No, what happened? Gray Davis got recalled. He was a disgrace. He got recalled. Arnold was part of the recall effort and then ran for governor as part of the recall effort and won. Jerry Brown was the governor both before Gray Davis and after. Actually, there was a Republican governor before Gray Davis. Jerry Brown was a governor like in the 70s or something, maybe the 80s, and then came back much later on. And, of course, his father was the governor. That's how they do things in California. Crazy people. Bob, I think it's a Democrat ploy with Fetterman, says Chuck from Carbon. I doubt it. He's too real of a person. That's why I like him. He's real. But I just don't want a United States senator whose development was arrested in high school. I just don't want it. The shorts hoodie thing, I don't get it. There's a problem there. Well, we're out of time just about, but we do have time to mention our veterans. Robert D'Alessandro of Plymouth, Frank Oljejewski of Wilkes-Barre, David Antoine of Fleetville, and Herschel Klinger of Bloomsburg. Thank you to them and their families for their service and being part of this amazing community called Northeast Pennsylvania. My Picardo Jewelers watch says it's 12 on the nose. That means we got to go. We got to sign off. We got to gavel out. And we do. The meeting of the Club for Common Sense adjourned. Sue Henry show next. Rob O'Donnell show after that. God willing, I'll be with you tomorrow at 9 o'clock again. Have a great afternoon.